Good morning, everyone. I'm using my Samsung Chromebook to make this recording on. It's a little confusing because sometimes it just does a post and it says I'm scheduled to go live at a certain time, and all I want to do is just go live right now. And I'm trying to do. I was going to give you an update on my projects here in Spanaway. Uh, that I haven't given up on what I'm doing. It's sort of in a kind of in limbo right now on the solar. I still have the the PowerPoint tracking module, the electrical for the new solar panels, which is this Xantrex, or goes by a different name now. It's so the Schneider Electric, yeah, and it's a 60 amp, 12 volt pulse width modulation charge controller. And then I also have these the pigtail, the Y connectors for the panels. And I have other things that I bought for this, like regulators, and also the meters. Okay. Then I have these, MC4 connectors that I got to put on the ends of the wires because I bought some heavy wire that I'm going to run from the stand to the solar panels. But it's kind of awkward because I don't have a lot of room where I'm at to put the solar panels out. If I do add solar panels, they're going to be on a ground mount rack. And what I'll probably end up doing is taking the old ones off of the existing rack and then replacing them with these new ones that are the 100-watt modules that I bought from Solar Boulevard quite a while ago, actually. And so there's 6 of them, and they're still sitting there. I'm using them. And other than that, the status of the power system is pretty good, actually. It still works. Still runs for, like, if I want to run my tools or air compressor, or it'll show you the that's what's coming off the panels right now. So I'm just showing you that the voltage is dropping down. I'm using that, and I'm using 3.61 amps, 114 volts. 420, and then 378 watts. And then this has been pretty good. I've been reliable. So, as far as that, it's pretty noisy. But I have power on when I need it. It's available during the day. Of course, the age of the battery bank's pretty old. I mean, most of those batteries are over 10 years old, and they're still, they work when the sun's out, but like at night, if the sun goes down and it's dark, I might be able to use them for running lights in my house if there's a power outage, or just like a small TV set for a few hours, and then the batteries will dip down below 11 and a half volts, and the alarm will go off on my inverter. And yeah, the neighbors don't want to hear beep in the middle of the night, and I have to come out here. If I don't hear it, I have to come out here. My plan originally was to take a voltmeter, and I bought 200 feet of speaker wire, and I was going to mount the voltmeter inside of my house. So when I did use my extension cord and I was in a power outage, I could see I have so much volts, so I should shut it off now. So I'd know I wouldn't have to come out here to the shop and deal with that. So I'm not an expert at this. There's a lot of other people. I put links, and I have a playlist of all these other people that are doing what I've been doing a lot better, and they can explain it well, and they're more articulate about knowledgeable about setting up a electrical solar power system setup. So I hope this has kind of been an experiment for me. Not only the YouTube, but doing this. But in the beginning, it was very encouraging because I was making, 100 $150 a month in the AdSense when I was started out, because there wasn't a lot of other people doing this. And so that's where I'm at here. I've got a lot of other things that I need to do to where I'm living. I'm very busy because my wife's disabled, so I'm having to be a caregiver for her 24/7, and I'm working full time. And I have not retired yet, so I'm still working on that. I'm working on, I'm going to be 60 next year, and I'll be retiring when I'm like probably 70. It looks like, because yeah, it's I didn't never saved enough. When I was younger, I was like, paycheck to paycheck, not thinking about the future. I'm going to be old someday, and Social Security is going to be just like so. I mean, it won't hardly pay rent. So, I mean, if I'm going to be like retiring, it's going to be in a long time from now. That, and so what else can I tell you about the system? I'm still using the rainwater off my roof. Most of the time, it's just to refill my pond that I used I used a Rubbermaid watering trough that I got at Tractor Supply for like 300. I think it wasn't that much. It was like $250 and then I got help. Somebody helped me move it in place, and I just had a pit where my old pond was, and I took the liner out, and I'm using the liner to cover my firewood, and then I have that pit. Then I just put the watering tank in the hole, dug it so deep to where the lip of the top of the basin is equal to the ground, a little bit higher than the ground level, and then I filled it. Then I put a overflow on it from the bottom with a pipe, and then I have a water. Then I have a hose running from overflow from the pond into my orchard that I put in a long time ago. And sad to say, the apples have not been very good because I'm getting the moth, and all of the apples have like holes in them, and the skin is like all kind of hasn't been really good. It's been a hard year for me because I'm having to spend a lot of time taking care of my wife, being that she can't get out of bed anymore on her own. So, if you're out there and you're in, like, you take care of your health, because when you get older, you pay for what you do when you're younger. And yeah, what else am I doing here? As far as my projects go, the potatoes, I got a pretty good crop out of my potato pool. Yeah, but like, who grows potatoes? They're so cheap. You can go to the store and get a 10-pound bag, but it's okay. I like they grow and they come out, and then there's more potatoes in the ground there. And but other than that, for solar electric power, if you have a small shed building, and if you have a place on your property where you're at that's not visible from the public, and you could put a ground mount system in, right? That's good, because at least with a ground mount system, you're not having to worry about load on your roof or putting holes in your roof, or like in the future, if you have to take the panels down, you're going to have to redo your roof at some point in time. So then you got to take all the panels off. So like, there's a ground mount system is way easier to maintain. You get snow or whatever, you have to clean them. They're right there, and they're easily accessible. Really, a roof is like, if you got no space at all, anywhere at all, and you just have your roof, then have your roof, do it professionally, so it's to code and all that. Because we got about like 30 inches of snow here. It was a lot. And I was like looking at my roof on my porch, and it was like doing that. And I had to go up there and scrape the snow off. And my neighbor was scraping the snow off his. And then my other neighbor across the street, their whole front patio caved in from the weight of the snow. So start putting heavy panels on your roof. You get snow. Yeah. And what can I say? The water system, I didn't even hook up my pump this year. It's on my back porch, kind of collecting dust. And then when I have time during the day, when I'm here and the sun's out, then I can use the power for, like I'll plug my vacuum cleaner into it, or I'll plug a coffee maker. And it's kind of a hassle to do that, I know. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get like a little portable a heating like a cook like a tabletop cook stove. It's like an induction stove, and cook outdoors and use my solar for that, because it's like you cook in, I don't like cooking inside, and it's, if you want, I'll have that on outside. I can just cook with it outside, and use this. I got these LED shop lights. They're beautiful, and they put out a lot of light, and they were really cheap. They were like $15 for like that. The one right up there was like $15, it was like $20, and it was like, yeah. If you got fluorescent lights, don't replace them. You just don't replace bulbs. Just get one of those. It's the cost of replacing your bulbs in existing fluorescent. You could pay for one of these. You get like twice as much light, and it's quiet, and it uses less than half the amount of the power. So, like right now, I can show you what these two lights are running or using power wise. They're using 0.56 amps. Let's see how many watts they're using. Everybody knows what watts are. They're doing 620 watts. Or no, 62 watts. For those two lights, 62 watts. I know fluorescents would be 62. So like 30 watts each on these. And that's a lot of light. That's a lot of light for 30 watts. You can't go wrong with that. So here's my bus bars I was setting up for my new rack of panels that I was going to put in. And this is a infamous little shed building. And it's kind of nice to get an air compressor finally, because I can clean all these like fans that I have in the house and air cleaners and things. I blow them off. And then if you have a fan in your house, and over time it'll get dirty, you just blow off the dirt, and then you use the air for your car or cleaning stuff too, and it's pretty good for that. So, and I'm still sold on, okay, keep emergency supply of water. At least have the law says you're only allowed so much, for your county regs. Well, mine's 300 gallons, but I don't keep it full all the time, so maybe I don't have that much. But if I had to use it for emergency purposes, like for toilet flushing or bathing, or I don't know, I'd filter it in my Berkey filter if I had to get drinking water. But you can't. I mean, for emergencies, do the water before you even do the power, and then if you're going to go with a battery setup, look into a lithium ion portable generator. And there's several different kinds now on the market, and they're pretty impressive what they can do. You have like this, it's about the size of this, about the size of a generator, small generator, and it works on lithium ion batteries. And one of them, I think you can daisy chain, and then you can have as a piggyback it onto your existing battery bank. And that's the one I was thinking of getting. I think there's one, it's by Yeti, but you can find it online if you do a search for lithium power generator, emergency generator, camping generator. There's people that have done demos on them. They're pretty impressive, did lithium. So I think future for lithium ion is the future. I mean, if oil's cheap still, but how long can we go where we have oil for cheap? And it causes problems. It's dirty and it stinks, and you got to have a generator. You're running it. You can't run it in your house. With the lithium ion battery packs, you can keep that in your house and have it charged all the time. or you could have it like on a solar, charge it with solar panels. There's adapters for that. So, but the lead acid batteries are, you got to vent them, but these are AGMs, and there's not that much of a problem with that venting. The old style, this is all old style. So right now I'm outdated. That's one of the reasons I don't make videos anymore, is because I go online and I look and I search for these subjects, and it's like way more people doing it, and they're doing it they're explaining it way better. They have really good camera equipment. They have studio editing software. They have it all set up and arranged properly, and they have it done correctly to code and all that. So I'm like, I'll just make these videos once in a while just to let people know I'm still in it. I don't really have time right now to really polish it and do really good and set it up better and all that. So, but I still have it as emergency power. And I'm noticing over time too, I'm getting less power from my panels. They're degrading, or it's either they're dirty or they're degrading. I think it's both. The one on the roof, the 245 watt monocrystalline panels that I have, two of them, daisy chained. Those are 24 volt, and they're going to the blue sky regulator here. Those are still, everything's still working like the day I set it up on that. So there's, I'm not like having problems with it. It's still, everything works fine. It works perfectly. I'm still running. I can run things and come out when the sun's out, and I have a little extra power at night. So I'm not making money on it. I'm not like, wow, I'm like running a lot of stuff all the time that it's saving me on my power bill. It's very hardly anything. I mean, if anything at all, I'm using it to run a popcorn maker, which will work full sun. If I run that popcorn maker, it's 1500 watts. I can't run anything more than 1500 watts. It won't run that thing. That inverter will shut off. And I think a lot of the problem I'm having between the inverter and the battery bank, there's the throughput problem. There's not enough, the connections aren't proper and done with these, the copper rod thing. It was like, it saved me a lot of doing these cables. You just run that rod through the, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I just run that rod through those batteries. Whoa. Yeah, it's dirty in here. I know I had a rat problem last year, and I still kind of have to clean it up. They got to my worm bin. I had a little plant heater pad inside of my worm bin. It was like a plastic for when you put seedlings on, it'll keep them warm for growing the seeds. I had one of those inside of the worm bin in a plastic tote. I had a double plastic tote. I had a plastic tote on the outside with drainage, and then I had an inside plastic tote with holes perforated throughout. And I put my garbage in there with the coconut coir, which is coconut husk, and newspaper and leaves and garbage, table scraps, vegetable garbage, old food at the refrigerator, and then it was fine. It worked great. And then that one year, the rats chewed their way in through the plastic tote, got into the compost, ate every worm in there. The dang thing was eating the worms. It was more interested in eating the worms and staying warm too. That's the other thing. Critters will try to go when it's really cold out, they'll go where there's warmth. And my idea is that if I wanted to, I could probably put a little heating pad and then some hay or some straw in a bin, and just have a place so the critters could go there at night, or when it's really cold, they'd go there instead of trying to get under my house or get into my other things, and like, because when I have, one year I had my fireplace going, and I heard something inside of my wall, and I think something got in my wall and was climbing around up in the, it was like, what, all these. That year, I remember there was a lot of mice around. For some reason, there was an awful lot of them around. And I wasn't me. I wasn't feeding them per se. There was bird seed. I have bird feeders. So, but my idea is I don't want to hurt anything. I don't want to hurt animals. So I'm like, I want to be careful. Like, okay, if there's a nuisance animal, then why are they here? What's causing them to come and stay in this area? It's a pond, and I have fruit orchard and a grapevine. And I don't mind like possums and squirrels and raccoons coming around at night and eating the fruit, because obviously it's got worms in it and I'm not eating it right now. And the grapes, I had so many grapes that now I go out and there's no grapes at all. So the possums, I haven't seen a possum in a long time. They're very shy, and I belong to a Facebook group where they're into like pet possums. People have them as pets, and they look like they're very amiable creatures. Looks like you can train them to be very like a cat. And they're sharp teeth. You know, you got to be really careful with any wild animal, of course. But with me, I don't mind the wild animals around. I don't mind them coming around. I'll try to keep them away from my house, and I won't intentionally feed them. But if they come around and they're eating the fruit on the ground, that's okay with me. Or if they want to take a drink out of my pond too, and I keep that with goldfish in it. I still have one goldfish, my original 10 that I bought. He's the big one. He's about like that. He's about like 3 inches, almost 4 inches across from this end of his tail to his nose. And then the other 7 of them, they were bought like 2 years ago. And I figured out what I was doing in the beginning. The raccoons got them because there was no place for the fish to go in the pond to hide from the raccoons. So the raccoon came and just went into the pond and grabbed the fish. But now the way I have it now is I have bricks. I have cement bricks stacked in the pond and there's a pipe that I have, a piece of pipe in there. I have that submerged at the bottom of the pond. So when there is disturbances in the area and the fish get scared, they can go and hide underneath the rocks. And then I have a pump in there that's on the power. And then I have 2 air bubblers on an air pump in the pond too. And then when the water gets low, all I do is I just have a hose that goes to that green tank that's filling from the roof water. That fills up, and I just spill it over into my fish pond, so it cleans it out. And then any overflow goes to the orchard from the pond. Yeah, I have hardly any time. I'm working and I'm taking care of my wife, so I'd love to just like set up my other solar rack and do the gardening really better containers, build a raised bed, and have it done all properly, and put up a little hoop house over the raised bed for in the fall or in the spring I could put things out, and take all of those, all of my porch roof, the plastic sheets, and take that off the roof and put like clear plastic and enclose the back porch with either a screen so the cats can go out there, or I could have that enclosed with like clear polycarbonate panels. And that would be nice because it gets the southern exposure of that part of the house. So it would be like a little greenhouse off of my back, right on my back deck there. Or I could just take all those off and build a greenhouse on top of my deck. I don't know. It's like I have all these ideas and all these things I would want to do, but I have no time, and I'm barely like getting by because I'm like so worried about being old and not having any money. So I pinch every penny that I have. I'm like really scared now because everything's getting more and more expensive. And if you don't save and plan for the future, for future expenses, like I don't know if I lost my job, or if the company was like downsized, or if there was a um, economic collapse or something, and I had to survive off of my land here. That was like what I was thinking early on. Like, God, if something happened, I'd have water, I'd have like power for emergencies, I'd have like at least some garden started, fruit orchard. So it was like, for me, it was like something spiritual too. It was like, here, I'm just going to be like more sustain myself where I'm at, and be like on Robinson Crusoe or something like that. I have fantasy of that. Like, wow, am I going to grow my own food and like have like, and I'll tell you, the people that are online that are doing that, I go, wow, that's great. I would love to be able to just like live off grid, to completely just live like in a place where like I could very, like I maybe could go in. If I needed to go into town, like I would only need to go into town like maybe once every month, and I'd be living like in a remote place, and I'd have grow most of all my own food, and barter with my neighbors and trade with other people for food or necessities, and then maybe go shopping once a month for like big box store and just get stock up, and then hardly ever have to drive into town. That's my thing. These people that do that, they don't think about, well, once you're way out somewhere, you still have to always drive back and forth into town, come back in, go to town, come in, go to your house, come back, go to town, and it's a long drive. You're driving all those miles and this gas. But if you could live off grid but not be so dependent on the system, and do most of your own food with you and your neighbors, your people you're living with in a community, then that's the better thing. And really, this is really, 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 really difficult to do all by yourself. If you're just one person being off grid, it's terribly difficult, and it's expensive too. Now, if you're in like, if you're in an intentional community where there's like so many they have 100 acres or like a big amount of land, and you buy in, it's a co-op, and you buy in and you own a piece of that. So you're a landowner in that group, and you have where your house is, you have your own area where you can build your own house, and you have an area where it's your private space, and you're a part owner, and everybody else is like on the same page as you are. They all believe in the same way you do. Their ideas and their method of how they want to live is aligned with your method and how you want to live. And you can find other people to live with that are like that, hardworking, responsible people that aren't just going to like get in it and then be a freeloader. They're going to work and put in as much as everybody else is going to put into, like in the community garden. And maybe there's going to be like vehicles that may or may not be shared, like a truck, you could use for getting materials for your home gardening, for the community garden. Have a big greenhouse where everybody can use the space in the greenhouse, and have like a big like a chicken coop. Everybody uses that. I don't like it. The animal thing is the ethical vegan thing. I'm an ethical vegan, so I will be a meat eater if that was something I had no other choice. Like if for some reason I had to go to Alaska, or I had to go up north to northern Montana or somewhere where it was really cold and the climate was not suitable for being living a plant-based for nutrition wise, it would be out of necessity. You'd have to hunt, or you'd have to raise your meat. So, but that ethically, there's questions about. Now you're still taking advantage, and you're still causing harm that may be unnecessary to cause that harm. You could just get enough rice and beans and potatoes and kale and sunflower seeds and live off of still have a plant-based diet in a cold place. But you really have to prepare. You'd have to be well stocked in those with those goods, and or be able to grow all that yourself would be very difficult. To grow to have a place where you could actually have a balanced nutrition on a plant-based diet, and not have to rely on the supply chain that's, for this kind of food, it goes so many hundreds or thousands of miles away. This other food came from 500 miles away, this food. But if you could live in a place that's like in a climate where you could live comfortably, and you could live with other people that you could get along with, that were aligned with you philosophically, that'd be better. That'd be the best thing. That would be so easy, much easier than just being a lone wolf and trying to do it all on your own. And it seems like people want to do the lone wolf thing, or they want to do like, we're going to go out, and me and my wife, we're going to go out and like find bear land and then have a family. Like, you're going to go to West Texas somewhere, and you're going to like go out way out in the desert, and you're going to have all these kids out there with you. Right. And that's another subject there, is like people like having all these, they're like off grid, and they're trying to have all these kids. It's like, no, I don't think so. I think you should have said, well, if you wanted to be that way before you start a family, and not drag other people into the children into what you're trying to do, and force them to have to be away from normal schools, socializing with other children, and being isolated with you just because you want to be that way. There was a video on a gentleman that lived on a shoreline area somewhere in New Zealand, and he was like very remote. It was a nature preserve, and he was like a ranger there or something. That was his, and he had to live way out in this remote area, and his kids were there, and that's like, well, they're going to grow up and they're going to be teenagers, and they're going to go, what the hell am I doing out here? I want to go out in the town, and I want to meet other people, and maybe I don't want to be a farmer. Maybe it's not my thing. I want to go out. I want to work in the movie industry or something totally different than not being. So you're trying to raise these kids. These people are trying to raise these kids with their ideology, and their kids are going to grow up and most likely are not going to be that way. I've seen it with my own family. So in that way. But other than that, I'm encouraging people, set up a solar, buy like one panel and use it to charge a battery. Get a lithium ion battery pack. Don't go with lead acid. Let's try to learn about lithium ion charging batteries. Now the nickel metal halide, or the nickel or the iron phosphate batteries, they're like, you got to buy those from China, or you got to buy them from a distributor that will buy them from China, and then they'll test them and set it up, and they ship them to you. And they last a long time. They charge very slowly, and they discharge very slowly too, I think. But there's some, you got to keep them watered, but they're bulletproof. If you're like somebody that's like, you're going to go out and you want to be like, this is going to last me for like 50 years, then spend the money and get the iron phosphate batteries for, get the 2-volt, whatever, the 2.5 volt, long, tall, heavy, really heavy batteries with the iron plates in them. And yet, but you're going to have to go through a dealer. I wouldn't chance, ordering directly from China unless you live where they're friendly to that. Like maybe in Canada, on the west coast of Canada, you can have a shipment done to Vancouver, or if you want, have it delivered to a port and then have it inspected there right when it's at the port. And if something's wrong, then you can ship it back from there. Because it's like, once you buy those, they're heavy and they're expensive, and you want to make sure you're getting, like anything else you buy, if there's something wrong, you need to take it back. What are you going to do if it's a 90 pound, 100 pound battery? So that's kind of a risk I took here in this beginning when I was buying these batteries. I didn't know if those company batteries, as soon as possible, they were pretty good. The quality of every battery I bought from them was good. My one, I had a gel. The first gel I bought, it wasn't AGM. It was a gel battery, the same 35 amp hour battery footprint, and it overcharged. What I did is I had a car battery, and I stuck the car battery and I left it overnight piggybacked it onto my battery bank, which was charging at a higher, it takes more energy, so it sensed that, oh, it needs charging, because it had a low voltage, because that battery was sucking the power off the battery bank. So my charge regulator opened up for all that power to come through, and it overcharged the gel battery, and it poofed out like that. I think I still have it. That yeah, I haven't thrown it away. Let me grab that. I'll show you that. You might like to see that. Right now, that little that Chrome. Let's see if I can run it off of my solar. It looks like a. It's like. You see that? And like even the top, you can see it's all like. But I bought this fall. This was my first battery I got. I even wrote on there fall of 2006. And it's a group U1, and it overcharged. It got like all burnt inside. Yeah, that was a mistake. And I took that off. The other one's okay. I haven't seen those two that are. I think I still have 2 gels on the ends, and they're still working. So be safe, out there. Don't do anything stupid like try to do. Okay, you got to be really careful. Always have positive to positive and negative to negative. Of course, every electrician will tell you that's important. Know where everything's positive, know where everything's negative. Once you hook up something that's not, that the polarity's wrong, it's toast. You're going to ruin it unless you have a fuse right there. But that's why you have fuses. If you make a mistake, then the fuse will go, and not your expensive charge regulators or your inverters. So always be safe and take care. And you may or may not see me in the future.